Hello and welcome to everyone joining us. I can see a few people coming through, so we'll just wait a few more minutes to let them all filter through. Well, welcome to the QME virtual seminar series. My name is Samantha Martin, Marketing Manager of Reed Exhibition's mining portfolio, comprising of Amex, QME and WA Mining, and I'll be supporting the speakers today. This is the final session in our virtual seminar series, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the speakers that have been involved this week. I hope you've enjoyed the sessions and found them informative. This morning's session will examine a regional all-in approach to transformation and what it means for the resources industry. There will be a live Q&A at the end of this session, and you'll have the ability to submit questions via the chat box, and these questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. Our speaker today is Kylie Porter, Chief Executive Officer of Greater Whitsunday Alliance, which is also known as GW3. GW3 is the peak independent economic development organisation for the Mackay, Isaac and Whitsunday region. The organisation is a strategic and coordinated point of contact for local, national and international networks and advocates for and promotes prosperity across the broader region. GW3's focus is not centred on one specific industry and has a remit to deliver across all key driving industries in the region, including mining and mets, agriculture, tourism, biofutures and others. I would now like to welcome Kylie, who is today's presenter.
Good morning, and thanks so much, Samantha, for having me. I'd love to think that as your final presenter in the virtual series that you've saved the best for last. So thank you very much for having me. My name is Kylie Porter and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Greater Whitsunday Alliance. So before we start, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land from which I'm presenting on today, the Yuwi people, and acknowledge their elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge all First Nations people from wherever you are gathered today. So as Samantha highlighted, today I'm presenting about an all-in approach to transformation that Mackay Isaac Whitsunday is embarking on and GW3's role in that journey. Hopefully, at the end of today's session, I will have busted some myths for you and have redefined what you thought you knew about the Mackay Isaac Whitsunday region and clearly identified that there is a role for the mining and met sector, to continue playing in our amazing region. So we'll get started. As Sam said, please use the chat feature that's on your screen. We'd love to see some questions for you. I'm slightly nervous as the sole presenter that I may not be able to answer them, but I'll definitely give it a go. So we'll get started. So from a GW3 perspective, where are we? Where is Mackay Isaac Whitsunday region? So probably many of you on the line have potentially only visited Mackay. You perhaps have made a quick trip out to Moranbah or the Bowen Basin, and you're probably not aware that our footprint area of the Mackay Isaac Whitsunday or the Greater Whitsunday region actually covers over 90,000 square kilometres. So we have an incredibly unique economy where we have mining, high value mining on one side, and then we have the beautiful Whitsunday coast and Whitsunday Islands on the other, and there's a major mix of agriculture and other economies in between. So that's our beautiful region. So I'm going to apologise for the next couple of slides that I show you. If you are unfortunately in Melbourne or in other parts of Victoria, you may about to feel some intense feelings of jealousy. So this is, a little snapshot of our beautiful Mackay. So that's our beautiful blue Pioneer River, which snakes around our gorgeous city. And it is a blue river, it's not a brown river. And, it borders our Art Deco CBD. So it's an incredibly picturesque city. Then we move on to the gorgeous Isaac region. Yes, there is a number of 26 coal mines out in the Isaac region, but there's also some fairly spectacular outback and bush scenery, as well as some beautiful coastal wetlands as well through the Isaac region. And of course, I have to finish off with the most amazing, spectacular Whitsunday Islands and our Whitsunday region. So some beautiful communities within the Whitsundays of, Bowen and Proserpine, as well as 74 amazing Whitsunday Islands and the iconic Whitehaven Beach, which you can see there. So that's our region in a snapshot. So if you've been to QME in the past and you've flown into Mackay, made a quick trip out to Bowen Basin, I need to urge you to add in some time at the end of your trip next time to make sure that you actually get out there and explore what our beautiful region has to offer, because there's certainly a lot more than perhaps you thought about the Mackay Isaac Whitsunday region. So from a GW3 perspective, our role, we were formed back in 2017 when we're collaboratively funded by the Mackay, Isaac and Whitsunday regional councils. And we also attract some additional funding from project partnerships and project grants. Our key role is to advocate, attract, collaborate and inform. So in essence, I actually tell people that my job is half cheerleader and half regional concierge. So I'm out there singing and dancing the praises of the Mackay Isaac Whitsunday, as well as connecting the dots. So making sure that I'm connecting opportunities between community and industry, between government and industry, and making sure that they all are realised. As Sam mentioned, we are industry agnostic. So I do not reference myself as being an industry body. We are an economic development organisation without any members, and we work collectively and collaboratively to connect our strengths with existing and emerging industries. So from an economic perspective, we're home to about 173,000 people. We think that's actually grown a little bit over the last couple of months. We support over 85,000 jobs, and we have an annual economic output of over $41 billion. So if you divide that in terms of per head of population, we are the region that contributes more to the GDP per head of population than anywhere else in Australia. So it is quite simply an incredible economy, and we have strong future growth prospects. So when you listen to the negativity perhaps that's often played out in media circles in metropolitan centres, that's probably not entirely accurate of the strength of our economy. So mining is obviously our largest output generating sector, and it contributes around just under half of our annual economic output. So quite clearly, there's a whole lot of other sectors out there which also have a major role to play in our economy, and we're very excited to look at ways to explore and promote and grow those. So when I talk about transformation, I talk about the fact that our region is on a journey, and that journey is about realising that we are capitalising on our strengths of our local economies and actually looking for ways to pivot, adapt and transfer those into new and emerging industries. So it is not about that we're leaving our past behind or that we're leaving our existing sectors behind. It's about the fact that we want to capitalise on our strengths and pursue new opportunities to realise some pretty amazing future potential across our region. So what I'm about to do is run you through some slides which give you an idea of the flavour of where we're going and what we're doing and the work that is coming up ahead of us as a region. So one of the major ones is biofutures. Now, when I first started working in biofutures, it literally used to fry my brain. So biofutures as a definition actually covers off on about 140 categories about what it could mean. So to try and simplify it for you, biofutures focuses on the development and manufacturing of products from sustainable organic and or waste resources rather than fossil fuels. So I want you to immediately put your mind into thinking around things like biofuels, biochemicals, bioplastics and biofoods, and they're the plant-based proteins. Now, this sector is expected to be worth well over, $1,000 billion by 2022 globally. And every single day that I look further into this biofutures issue and concept, that figure actually increases. So the global demand around biofuture and sustainable organic products moving forward is incredible. To give you some sort of idea about why we believe that this region is so ripe for biofutures and biofoods into the future, we have Australia's possibly largest supply of feedstock. And so when I talk about feedstock, I'm talking about our sugarcane. So if you've had the opportunity to fly into Mackay, you'll notice that when you look out of the plane, you'll look out the right and you'll see the coal ships waiting to be loaded, waiting off Hay Point and Dalrymple Bay. And if you look out of the out of the left window of the plane, you'll see, beautiful lush green cane fields as far as the eye can see. So we are uniquely placed within Australia and Queensland because we have such strong feedstock supply, but we also have a fantastic transport supply and logistics network, which means that we're able to get any potential future biofutures product to market quite seamlessly. So that makes us quite unusual in a global sense. So the reason why that, we're very focused and very excited about biofutures is A, because of the amount of feedstock that we have in region, but B, most importantly, we also have the mining sector, which has in turn led to the met sector, which provides us with a unique set of capabilities, skills and technology, which is going to support the growth of this biofutures sector moving forward. So whilst it may seem it may seem misaligned that we talk about mining and mets in the same sentence as we talk about biofutures, they're really symbiotic and they're going to come together to help transform this region in the future. So Mackay our region already has some very strong biofutures credentials. So we've been working in this space actually for an incredibly long time. We probably just haven't defined a label to it up until the last couple of years. So we've been producing ethanol at Wilmar Sugar down in Serena for over 90 years. We have a cogeneration plant at Racecourse Mill, which supplies over 30% of Mackay's electricity needs. We also have a QUT biocommodities pilot plant at Racecourse Mill. And this is a research facility which has been established, for the best part of a decade, which actually looks at, new products, new solutions that we can leverage from our existing feedstocks across the region. In Isaac, Novum Energy just has released plans to establish an industrial tyre recycling plant at Nebo, and they've signed a takeoff agreement with BHP to take all of their industrial tyres, and then BHP will in turn take back, all of the industrial chemicals and reuse them back on site. In the Whitsundays, we have a horticultural waste project with the Bowen Gumlu Growers Association to explore high-value biofutures opportunity from some of their excess products. So it may actually surprise you that this region produces the most amount of winter fruit and vegetables than anywhere else in Australia. So we're Australia's highest producing winter horticultural location, which is pretty exciting, and most people don't know. And in fact, I'd probably actually suggest that most people in our region don't know that, more winter fruit and vegetables are produced in this region than anywhere else in Australia. But of course, with that comes some challenges, is that there's always some waste product left on the ground, and we're actively pursuing how can we process those waste products to make sure that it goes somewhere and continues to add value to our growers. And so that's an amazing biofutures opportunity, for particularly for our Whitsunday growers in the horticulture sector. So what we want to actually also do is, so that's biofutures, incredibly linked, to our mining and met sector, particularly our met sector. And what a lot of people probably have tended to forget about is that the reason why Mackay is a great met sector is because we had this amazing capability back 50 years ago in in sugar, which actually led to, at the time, Utah Coal Mining Company saying, you know what, this place is actually better to manufacture, some of the, the engineering equipment and goods that we require. And so it was that experience that we had as being a major producer of sugar and a major miller of sugar that actually led to the development of our met sector. So it's kind of coming around in full circle. 50 years later, that mining and met sector is actually going to lead to, hopefully, a completely new area of progress and development for our region. So what are we doing to capitalise on the strengths in mining to grow our met sector? So our met sector is currently worth more than $92 billion to the Australian economy. Sorry, that's not just Mackay's met sector, but that's mets in general. We estimate that that's probably worth around $50 billion to the local economy by 2030. So it's a significant player. As you guys know, that there are many, many operators across the region, who are very, very good at what they do, particularly in the mets and mining services sector. However, currently less than 5% of Mackay Isaac Whitsunday mets businesses export. So quite clearly, we are very focused on our domestic market, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But there are opportunities across the globe which we need to explore and to be a part of, to make sure that our met sector continues to grow and remain vibrant and exciting well into the future. We know that direct jobs in mining are going to decrease as a result of automation and new technology. However, we believe that new roles will be created through mets businesses embracing that same new technology and work practices. We're working very hard with our mets businesses and our mets sector and actually across all industries to make sure that they're ready, for the changes that digital technology is going to bring to workforces, and make sure that they're in the prime position to capitalise on that. So how does mets actually fit in terms of servicing and being applicable to new and other industries? So quite clearly, as I've just mentioned, there's a real alignment and a strong opportunity in that biofutures space. There is agriculture, industrial waste and more. These are going to require, these potential biofoods manufacturing plants are going to require high-tech engineering and technical support to be able to, to grow and become really established in this region. Agtech, the demand for technology solutions in agriculture is growing at an unprecedented rate. This typically stems from the fact that, unfortunately, agriculture is not an industry which attracts, a lot of interest from workers. So they're going to increasingly have to rely on ag tech and technology solutions to be able to remain productive long into the future. So the capabilities that we have employed for the mining sector, are going to be incredibly relevant in an ag space. That, and we need to be able to apply that thinking, across from mining and mets straight into ag. Aerospace. Okay, this one you've got to go with me, because there's possibly a lot of people on the call here who go, 3 years ago, when I had the first conversation with a company called Gilmore Space Technology around the fact that they felt that Bowen was going to be an ideal launch site for rockets and satellites into the future, I went, yes, sure it is. Great idea. In reality, that is actually going to happen. And a couple of weeks ago, the Queensland government announced that Bowen was Queensland government's preferred site, for space launches in Queensland. So I think that that's incredibly exciting. Again, the technology required for aerospace is very complementary and strongly aligned, to much of the technology that's been employed by the met sector, in mining. So it's not as far-fetched as it seems. There's some detailed business cases underway at the moment, and you know, we're very hopeful that within the next couple of years we'll actually have some small-scale you know, space launches occurring from the Bowen State Development Area at Aberpoint. So who knew 3 years ago that those conversations, which seemed completely ethereal and were never going to happen in pie-in-the-sky stuff, are actually now coming home to land. Renewable energy. So Mackay Isaac Whitsunday has multiple renewable projects in the works, including solar, gas, hydrogen. Again, renewables are incredibly complementary to METS. We need to take those that experience and expertise and knowledge and technical overlay and apply it, you know, to a new emerging industry like renewable energy. You know, as you would have seen, there's been a number of very recent announcements by the federal government, which is going to focus on renewables moving forward. You know, this region has an incredible role to play, and our METS businesses are in the hot seat to be able to be a part of, you know, of that new direction. Very bit slow to move next. There we go. So what does an all-in approach mean? It means that I need to have conversations, or we need to have conversations as a region to foster innovation and entrepreneurship from kids right through to successful businesses. So typically the words entrepreneurial and innovation doesn't fit well with a small business owner. The vast majority of our METS business is small and medium enterprises. They actually don't love the term innovation or entrepreneur. They tend to find that that's a little bit, you know, highfalutin for them, a bit Melbourne hipster for them, you know. So we actually tend to, you know, engage with them around, do you provide solutions to problems for your clients? And when you actually get deeper into that, you actually find out that we've got a huge number of incredibly innovative businesses dotted across our region. You might be surprised to know that there are more patents registered per head of population in this region than anywhere else in Australia. Not joking, it's actually actual facts. You know, so that gives you an idea or some sort of insight into the level of commitment that small and medium businesses have in this region to making sure that they're staying at the forefront of innovation. They just don't like to use that as a term. We're trying to embed innovative thinking across all project opportunities in the region. Can technology or a new way of thinking help us do this better? So that comes across the board. So we are employing that thinking not only in our own innovation programs and transformation programs that we're hosting and running and facilitating, but we actually have innovation as being a key theme in any sort of other specific project work. For example, as a region, as an organisation, we're leading some work around a regional water strategy. So what can we do best with our existing water assets in this region? And we've asked, it's part of the scope that we apply innovative thinking to what those assets can be used for in the future. You know, now is the time where technology is available and ripe, and there's a new sense of thinking that everything is possible if we, change our mindset around the thinking associated, you know, with some of these concepts. We're resourcing the METS SME Export Hub to grow capability and opportunity for regional businesses to export. So as I said, 5% of our regional METS businesses currently export internationally. Yes, we know that there's some massive challenges in a post-COVID world around export. However, you know, we've got to overcome those. And what we also need to do is grow some capability and create opportunities, you know, for those METS businesses to be able to realise, you know, export potential. We are sitting on an incredible asset of world's best technology and practice in many, many cases, and we need to be able to showcase and present those technologies to the rest of the world. We're actively pursuing enhanced digital infrastructure to give our region's industries the edge. There is no, unfortunately, large big bucket of public money on offer to make sure that, you know, regions have great digital infrastructure. We're going to have to go it alone. We're going to have, you know, proactive, detailed conversation with industry, government, community to make sure we collaborate together to be able to get the digital infrastructure and the solutions that we need to keep growing. The reality is that, you know, our future relies on platforms like this and not the old pen and paper. So we need to make sure that the infrastructure is in place to make sure that as a region we contribute, well, we continue to contribute more than $42 billion to the national economy every year. We know we punch above our weight. To keep doing that, we're going to need the infrastructure, you know, in place to keep doing that. We're going to be partnering with industry and education and training providers to ensure our region has people with the right skills for jobs of the future and the right skills in those emerging and exciting new industries. We actively work with the Queensland Future Skills Partnership. We have a regional jobs committee program underway where we ask community and industry, what are they going to want in the future? And we are you know, creating a plan that our region can follow to actually achieve those. We also have a Mackay Isaac Whitsunday Future Employment Study, which will be released next Wednesday. This is where we've actually mapped what our entire workforce across 4 key industries is going to look like by 2030. And it provides the blueprint of what we've got to do as a region to achieve that. The reality is that automation and digital technology is coming, whether or not we like it, and we need to be prepared and proactive and energized as a region to make sure that we keep people here and keep them in jobs and in meaningful jobs. The other part of the conversation is that we need to tell our innovation story and our transformation journey more clearly. So GW3 launched a transformation region digital platform a couple of weeks ago, or probably 2 months ago now. And this is where we actually start showcasing and telling the story of our transformation journey. I have got examples, an incredibly long list of many examples of great businesses and great individuals across this region who are already working, you know, in cutting edge technology, who are working in groundbreaking, you know, research, but we don't often tell the story. Mackay Isaac Whitsunday is incredibly resilient. That's what makes us so great and so strong. But on the flip side, we're also, you know, quite modest. We don't like to give ourselves a pat on the back, and we don't like to give ourselves shout outs. You know, we absolutely are, you know, in that respect, a true, you know, regional, you know, Queensland mentality about that. So GW3 is being far more proactive around that space, and, you know, the transformation region digital platform is designed to showcase and tell those stories. So this is what transformation region looks like from a GW3 perspective, and from a regional perspective. You know, we will be referring to ourselves as transformation region moving forward. You know, we have the right mindset for change, and we just need to tell that story and make sure that everybody is on the pathway. So why transformation region? As I just mentioned, our region is changing. Automation, AI, augmentation, new consumer habits, they're upon us right now. Like it, love it, lump it, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's happening. So we just need to be, you know, on the program. COVID-19 is accelerating the rate of change. Yes, we've all heard that. I can honestly say that I've been working in this space around the future of work and emerging industries for about, you know, 3 years now. The only silver lining of COVID is that it has accelerated the normalizing of these concepts. So I felt that I probably had another year, 18 months ahead of me of mainstreaming this information within my community and within my key industry sectors. You know, absolutely not. COVID-19 has completely accelerated the normalizing of these concepts, and we have a community now that's quite ready to embrace, you know, change and the opportunities. You know, the reality is we're already very well advanced on our transformative journey. You know, our challenge is to tell the story more effectively, and we also need to redefine our narrative. Yes, we're an incredibly strong mining and met sector and mining and met economy, but there is a whole lot more to us, and the potential, for emerging and new industries is, really quite outstanding. And we need to tell that story, and we need our community standing behind us and believing in it. So when you jump onto the Transformation Region digital platform, you'll find that we've got information, dedicated into 4 key pillars. So, background information about what is 4IR, what are workforces of the future, some information around what are the future skills. We'll be highlighting the fact that in the future, foundational digital skills are going to be critical across every single sector. It does not matter what industry you're from, foundational digital skills will be required in some way, shape or form. In fact, this region will require more ICT qualified roles than we currently have. And, over the next 10 years, we have a massive challenge about making sure that we create those jobs and we actually offer them in region to encourage people to stay. We have a business hub section. Now, this is where the cheerleading part comes out. This is where we're actually cheerleading and highlighting and championing, the case studies of businesses well across the region who are doing some great things around transformation and innovation right now. And then prosperous communities. Embracing transformative technology doesn't mean that you're actually disconnected or you're less people focused or you're less, less socially aware. It can actually mean that it enhances that. We've got to remember that as a region of more than 90,000 square kilometres, it's quite hard to always stay in contact and stay in touch with people. And, digital technology may be able to help us do that in the future. So that brings me to the end of my formal presentation. I just wanted to really bust some myths about who we are and where we are as a region. So what you think you might know about Mackay Isaac and Whitsunday is changing. And to really affect that change, I need all of you on the line today to actually be standing behind me and saying, you know what, I know some different things about Mackay Isaac Whitsunday, and it's pretty exciting what's going to happen there. There was an announcement just recently that Mackay is one of Queensland's very few biofoods hubs, which means that we're actively pursuing manufacturing of biofood products in this region, and that's incredibly exciting. This is not the place that I grew up in. It's certainly looking a lot different. And if I was a betting woman, by 2030, mining and mets is still going to be incredibly important as a part of our economy and our future. But it will be supplemented and complemented, by a really strong agriculture sector, a really strong emerging biofutures sector, as well as other strong underpinning economies or industries like tourism, health and others. So thank you. My name is Kylie Porter. I'm happy to take some questions. If you want to find out more information about what GW3 does and our transformation journey, please jump online to our website, which is gw3.com.au. Alternatively, jump on and have a look at our Transformation Region website, which is transformationregion.com.au, and have a play around listening to some of our transformative case studies and champion stories.
Well, Kylie, thank you so much. That was really interesting. I found the biofutures stuff really quite fascinating, and it's exciting where that stuff's going, actually.
Yep.
I guess, what advice can you give companies who are looking to diversify into these new areas?
Look, I think that what we've actually got to, the biggest piece of advice is we've got to stop. We've got to stop pigeonholing ourselves, so, particularly our met sector, we have a lot of operators or a lot of businesses who go, yep, probably they're not likely to say a mets business. I'm a mining business, but not only am I a mining business, but I'm actually a metallurgical coal mining supply business. So they're incredibly narrow focus, incredibly pigeonholed. now is the time. If you're looking to diversify, you need to open up your thinking and look for the parallels between where your expertise is and how that might align to a new emerging industry. I saw a great photo a couple of days ago of a Biofutures or biofoods plant in Blair, Nebraska. Now that plant was so much stainless steel, so many boilers, so much technology. It is very similar to the skills and capabilities that we've already grown and engineered and nurtured here, for decades. It's just time to start thinking that there is a new opportunity out there.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question. I mean, does the technology or the capabilities currently exist within region, or, into the new transformation areas, or is it still in development? Is it still something that's, coming down the pipeline?
Look, I think that there's base skills and base expertise absolutely already exists in region. That's exactly how we ended up as being a MET sector in the first place. We had those skills, which stemmed from, sugar and sugar milling. But those base skills and expertise are changing. Yep. So by 2030, those jobs are going to look different again. And so we need to be continually open to the fact that we've got to be adaptable to change. So what we know today about, your skill set is going to be different in 2 years' time. It's going to be different in 5 years' time, and it's going to look completely different in 10 years' time. I can't tell you exactly what it is going to look like in 10 years' time because technology and the rate of change is happening so fast. But if we're in the right mindset that we know we're going to change, that we know we've got to adapt, then I think that that's a great start. But yes, certainly the base skill set and expertise is here, and we just need to keep growing and adding on to that, as our world changes.
So, what do you think we should do to address the skills gap now?
Look, there's a lot of things that we need to do to address the skills gap now. Number one, we've absolutely got to show strong leadership. So for our business community, so if you're in business and you're on the line and you're watching, you're actually a part of this journey. We can't leave it up to our education and our tertiary and our vet, suppliers or providers to make this. They need input from you. So start thinking about, what you're doing and what you're producing now probably looks a little bit different to what you were doing and what you were producing even 5 years ago. So being able to map those step changes are really important, and communicating that, to our decision makers around education, skills and training are incredibly important. Often when we engage, with our small business community, we find that they say, oh, no, really not that much is changing. A huge amount has changed. It's just been incremental step changes. We need to be more aware of those incremental step changes and start applying that to some future thinking, because that's how, we're going to make sure that, governments and tertiary and education providers are offering, the right skills and training development.
It needs to be more of a consultative approach, right? Like the traditional forms of upskilling and education are going to have to be revolutionized, really, because the rate of change is happening so rapidly. We can't wait 4 years for a degree to happen for people to skill up.
Yeah, even in a vet sense, the minimum time that it takes to get a new vet course established and rolled out, particularly in Queensland, can be 2 to 3 years. That's too long. This world will not wait 2 to 3 years. So again, there is a silver lining attached with COVID, and that is that government have realised that they can make swift decisions and the world not implode. So we're looking for them to be able to maintain that momentum. If we need a certificate 2 in XYZ to be able to plug some demand for new roles, then we need to be able to act and implement swiftly.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you see are the skills that are going to be emerging in these new industries?
So there's 4 actually. So as I said, we've got a future employment study which is being released next Wednesday. So that maps what our workforce is going to look like by 2030 across 4 key industries. So mining and mets, agriculture, tourism, and health and social services. So really mixed bag there. So surely nothing should be shared across those in terms of, jobs and roles. In fact, there's 4 jobs or 4 skills and training and qualifications that will be required across all 4 sectors, and they are all ICT related roles. So they are all information communication and technology roles. So software engineers, data analysts, software developers, all of those types of things. They're the types there. So there's 4 ICT roles, which is shared across all sectors. Doesn't matter where you're from. The other thing that is also shared across every single job profile across those 4 sectors is foundational digital skills. So our kids don't know a world without those foundational digital skills. Anyone over the age of 30, though, might. So we need to make sure that we credential people who have those, digital foundational skills, but we also need to promote and recognise the importance of those, in every single business and sector moving forward, because every job of the future is likely to have a combination of some digital technology input. So you need to have some base skill level, in digital moving forward.
Absolutely. So how are you engaging with communities so that they're part of this journey, and it's not, they're along for the ride, they're not just being dictated to, I guess?
Yeah. The Transformation Region platform is critical about that. What we're trying to do is create an environment where I want a business to look over the fence at his neighbour who's doing something and go, you know what, I can do that. I do that. Why isn't someone championing it? Why am I not talking about my transformational skills or my innovation journey? So what we're actually doing is normalising that conversation. So we're saying that our region is already well advanced on the journey of transformation and innovation. We need to tell that story a whole lot more effectively and more simply. And that's the whole point of GW3. So we work incredibly closely with every business and industry group across the region, with our 3 regional councils. We have youth programs running, where we're encouraging the idea of entrepreneurship, in, every year 9, curriculum across our region, to the flip side of working really closely with, Dean Kirkwood and the Met's SME Export Hub, making sure that we grow those capabilities of our Met's businesses, because, they really are at the cutting edge and they really should be taking their product to the rest of the world. We just need to be able to foster and nurture, that understanding and that awareness.
So we just had a question popped through from Giovanna, and it's not really a question, more of a bit of a statement. It says, for education to change and skills to upgrade faster than employers/industry need to recognise and accept that an employee workers on the basis of short targeted qualifications or micro credentials, an issue discussed on the World Bank Human Capital Development Report in 2019. Is that shifting? Is it changing? Are we going to get to that point where you can do a 6-month course and that be as valued as a degree? Yep,
it absolutely is. So we're working, our future employment study has 9 key recommendations. One of those 9 key recommendations is around promoting the value of micro-credentialing. So particularly as we, there are numbers of jobs in our region which will not exist in 10 years' time. So to be able to transition them to another sector, or to transition them to a new role within their existing sector, they're going to have a new set of credentials, to be attractive. So micro-credentialing is actually going to be critical as a part of that, as a part of that transition. 10 years is not a very long time when we consider that many certificates, many apprenticeships, many degrees all require years of study and years of work. We're not going to get those numbers that need to transition into new roles through that process if it's not micro-credentialing.
Excellent. Well, I've got one more question, and so if anybody out there has another question, now would be the time to put it into the chat box. But I guess, are there incentives or grants for businesses to help them diversify?
Look, in terms of actually looking to diversify Possibly no grants that I can think of, you know, which is going to say you're going to get out of METs and you're going to go into biofutures. What there is, you know, a number of grant opportunities around which will help you embrace new technology. You know, what you do with that new technology is completely up to you. The Queensland State Government has a program on board to be able to help the adoption of new technology as a COVID response measure. But realistically, that's just good business practice anyway. So if you're a small business and you haven't tapped into that grants program, particularly if you're a small business in a regional area and you haven't tapped into that grants program, you need to. It's undersubscribed for regional Queensland. There's $10,000 there waiting for you to be able to jump into and access and be able to, you know, to make some pivots around technology. So again, it's not necessarily about thinking about, I need to go from mining and METs to agriculture, or I need to go from agriculture to mining and METs. It is, I need to embrace a transformative mindset because I can work in multiple sectors in this region to, you know, and be successful and viable in the future.
Well, I think that's some great advice. So I hope people take, you know, visit the website and you know, reach out to yourself, Kylie, on what they can do with their business and the opportunities that might be existing within region.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for everybody watching. We'll be releasing this presentation via video next week, so we'll be on the QME website. So if you missed anything or would like to rewatch it, you'll have that capability. But look, thank you to everybody for joining us for the QME seminar series. We were disappointed that we couldn't bring the event in person this year, but we will be back in 2022, and I look forward to seeing everybody in person very shortly. So thank you, Kylie, and have a great day.
Excellent. Thank you.
See you later.